Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the CDL podcast channel. In this episode today, as you can see by the screen, it's all bracket predictions for CDL champs. It's that time of year. Our final predictions episode of the MW2 season is here. It's crazy to say, but here we are. One of our favorite things to do. It's the last time we get to do it for months and months, probably 5 or 6 months at the minimum. So very excited to get into this one. We've got pretty much just that to cover. Not going to really cover anything else today. It's all going to be focused on champs and what our predictions are. Brock and I have been brewing this in our brain for a few weeks, trying to come up with the perfect bracket. And I was saying to Brock before I started recording, usually I have one bracket where I really hit on the year and I get close to the top of the predictions. And I have not had that this year. I've had some rough brackets overall. Brock's had one really good one, but overall, between the two of us, not too many great brackets. So we're hoping to change that today and see if we can make a big splash and get our name towards the top. So looking forward to doing that. If you guys enjoy this one, please be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. As I guess now our new goal is run the road to 1100 since we hit that 1K goal. So be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. This is usually one of our bigger podcasts on the year. Is obviously there's a lot of interest in champs. So if you guys are new and you're listening and you enjoy, make weekly content, we'd appreciate if you drop the sub. If you're on the audio platforms, drop a follow, drop a 5-star review. I know it's a lot harder to interact with you guys on there, but we appreciate the support as always. And let's get into it. Brock, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good on this fine Monday. This bracket I'm about to cook up is. We'll see how this goes in a couple days here. But also, I'm very excited to head to champs in a couple days as well.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun time. Your first champs. It's gonna be a fun time out there in Vegas. We head out in a couple days here to head on over there. We got a pretty long flight from Wisconsin, but it'll be a fun time to head over there. And yeah, let's see who can win this bracket prediction. I mean, like I mentioned, you're pretty much the only one who's had a good bracket. What was that, Major 4? You picked Thieves to beat OpTic in the final, which is what happened. So when you could pick the final correctly and the winner correctly, that's a pretty good bracket, regardless of all the other stuff that happens. If you pick the two teams in the final and the winner correctly, it's a pretty good bracket.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got nothing else. I guess the big thing in the COD community this week was a pretty toxic thing happening on Twitter. It was the whole Nick Merck situation. So that was really the big news. And I didn't really want to get into the weeds of talking about that because it is a toxic time on Twitter right now. People are just going at it. And it's really not that fun because usually Twitter is a place that you go, to have some fun, unwind, look at some funny tweets or read some sports news or something. And it's been a toxic mess out there on the timeline. So I have no comment on that. We're not going to talk about it. My only comment is what my mom taught me when I was a little kid. Just be nice to people. That's the only thing I got to say. That's what me and Brock have to say. Be nice to people. That's about all we have to say on that matter. Just
agree.
Be nice to someone. Just go out there. You see someone, just don't be an asshole to them. Be nice to them. No matter what your beliefs are, what you think, just be nice to people. That's my only thoughts on the situation. All right, Brock. We're having you go first this time. I believe I went first last time. I'll fill in the bracket as you tell me what to fill in. Let's see what you do here. I feel like we said, there's 5 teams most people realistically think can win this event, and 3 people that you would consider long shots. You got like maybe some thoughts on your head between like a few teams. Like, I don't know. We went over what we think each team needs to do to win, but like, what's your thought process been? Like, obviously, I know you're probably battling, picking between a few teams. Like, you don't have to give me your winner, but like, give me a couple, 2, 3 teams maybe, and like, where was your thought process? Like, I was about to pick them because this, and then I was about to pick them, or I would pick them if this happened, something like that. You don't have to tell me who you picked yet.
Yeah. Well, for me, I picked some teams that I, was going back and forth between where, Thieves can make a huge run, even though they're a little bit bad in Major 5. But they could definitely bounce back, especially on LAN. And then Atlanta Faze, it's tough not to pick them really to go all the way half the time since, Simp at champs has never missed a final.
Yep.
And, subliners, subliners and OpTic, it's really tough between those two. It's like, I feel like they're like the same right now on the same wavelength as each other. So tough battles I had to pick overall.
Yeah, and you got to feel like on that bottom side, subliners and OpTic, one of them's got to be in winners final, you figure.
Yeah.
So one of those two has a very good chance to win it all, just because you think for sure we're on like the top side. It's tough because you've got 3 teams and like if you get that Thieves versus Ultra matchup wrong, it could destroy your bracket because the winner of that could make it all the way to grand finals through winners.
Yeah, I
So
definitely
like
agree.
that could screw up your bracket if you get that one wrong.
Yeah, if you make out the top side of the bracket, you can get some good momentum going into it.
Yeah, because the bottom side should be the easy side, but we all know how that works. Minnesota and Boston will probably end up winning, and it will not end up being the easy side.
Yeah, it'll be the tougher side.
Yeah. All right. Let's dive into it. Start up at the top of winners round 1, and we'll let you take the floor.
All right. Atlanta Faze versus the Seattle Surge. I want the good old classic, how these teams play out usually. A good game 5 win for Atlanta Faze, so 3-2.
Okay, a little closer, maybe than a lot of people are thinking, because I think current form of Faze looks pretty darn good, and a lot of people are not having a lot of faith in Surge. But like you said, they tend to play them close, and Champs is just a little bit different because you got so long to prepare for your matchup. You know it weeks in advance. You can pull out all the stops, and you're not hiding anything anymore. If you had something to say for Champs, it's coming out when you need it because there's no reason to hide it anymore. It's the last event of the year.
Yeah, definitely. And also, some of these picks that I'm picking are based off where we're going to be there, so I might be picking a lot of 3-2s.
Yeah, you're just hoping for all game 5s and not as many 3-0s as we saw last event.
Yeah.
Same.
All right. LA Thieves versus Toronto. This was a tough one because I really wanted.
Has to be the toughest match of the first round.
I know. I did pick Toronto 3-2, but then I flipped it in the end, so I picked Thieves 3-2.
Okay. I mean, it may end up not like Toronto does seem to have Thieves' number a lot of times. Just based, I don't know. I heard something they were like 4-1 or 4-2 over like recent matchups versus them. Like they really had their number. But yeah, I mean, looking at the other matchups, it feels like there's a clear favorite in 3 of the 4 winners round 1 matches. You feel like Faze, you feel like OpTic, you feel like New York are the favorite. Maybe not like super heavy, but they're the favorite. Like I said, that Ultra Thieves match has got to be the one that could determine make or break your bracket because I mean, you're looking at that matchup like Thieves could easily make a run through winners and win it all, and so could Ultra. So if you pick the wrong team, they end up making that run, your bracket's chalked. But yeah, 3-2 Thieves are going.
Yep.
All right, got it down. Let's drop down to that. That winners round 1, that bottom half of the bracket. What people are calling the easier half of the bracket.
Yep. All right. OpTic versus the Boston Breach. I pick OpTic 3-1. I'll give Boston 1 with their new form squad.
You think they're
I think
the Surge a hard point? What do you think they're taking?
I think they will take the control.
Okay. This one makes me nervous. It's got to be like one of the other, maybe the second biggest question mark in round 1. Like, it's just like Boston isn't a good team at all right now, but like there's just something about that random new player, never played a match, not much idea of how he plays. Like, there's just something weird in the air. It could be interesting to see what Snoopy can do.
Yeah, they could have like a whole new play style, sort of, with him in.
Yeah, and they're almost at a point where they just have lost so much recently and have lost always on land, barely getting any wins. That like scary to run up against a team that has nothing left to lose and has tried everything and can just like throw random stuff at you. It's scary because OpTic's got a lot to play for, and that they're one of the favorites or one of the teams that should win. And Boston doesn't have a lot to play for, and nobody's picking them to do anything.
Yeah, no pressure really on Boston at all.
All right, next matchup. Our last one of winners round 1.
Yep, the Subliners, the 2-time champs already.
Yeah.
Versus the Roquar. A little up and down season for them.
It's been a little bit more up as of late, though.
It has been. It has. I picked the game 5 for the Subliners, 3-2.
Okay, I was wondering if this is maybe where you'd pick the upset because, my philosophy is like you always got to try to find an upset somewhere in winners round 1. It's tough this year because like our bottom 2, like teams that we're viewing coming to this event, maybe like I guess discounting Seattle. It's like it's hard to pick Seattle because Faze is Faze, and then Boston and Minnesota are tough to pick because Subliners are coming off a win and OpTic have been consistently one of our best teams, except for last event. And then like there's no such thing as an upset in the Faze or in the Ultra versus Thieves series, because I mean,
Yeah.
they're pretty even. So like usually there's a way that somebody gets upset. So like I'm trying to find a way to not pick this 4 to make it on, but it's pretty tough.
Yeah, it's hard to pick against Subliner since they just won. But if they didn't win last tournament, I might have picked Rocker.
Well, and it's scary to pick like Surge, Minnesota or Boston, because like you said, yeah, Subliners won the last tournament, so you got to feel like they're in a pretty good spot. OpTic maybe would be the easier upset to pick because they struggled so poor, like they were so poor at the last event. But Boston has also looked so bad, and you just don't know what they're going to be with Snoopy. Are they going to have enough strategy and team cohesion? And then it's hard to ever pick anybody to beat Faze ever on LAN. They basically make it to every finals, so yeah, it's tough to pick an upset. But
Yeah.
I don't mind the picks. Let's move on to the losers side of the bracket.
All right. Toronto Ultra versus the Seattle Surge.
Mm-hmm.
Man, this is like this is a close one. It's been a close one. Close 3-2. Seattle gets 2 hard points, but they lose rest, and that's their tournament right there.
What did you say the map count was?
3-2. Toronto Ultra.
Okay. Seattle gets double first rounded. I feel like that's going to be a very common pick amongst the community.
Yeah. And that will be the end of Fred and Sip's tenure with the Seattle Surge.
Yeah, that's an unfortunate one to say the least.
Yeah.
All right. Then we go down to Boston versus Minnesota.
Boston, Minnesota. All right. I picked Minnesota 3-1. Experience here. A lot of experience on the Rocker side compared to Boston at champs.
Very true. Yeah, I don't know why looking at this, it feels like these are our two teams obviously that nobody's picking to win. Like these are two of our bottom teams. I mean, that's why they're down and losing round one, but I don't know. Maybe you feel completely different. You're gonna have eliminated. I might also do the same right away, but it just feels like because like one of these teams has to move on, it's gonna be some kind of momentum. It feels like maybe this is a spot where a team that you don't expect to do a lot could potentially make a run, just because like one of them is guaranteed to get to top 6, and then from there, all of a sudden you make it to Saturday. You're 2 days into the tournament. Obviously, tournament starts Thursday. You got Friday matches. All of a sudden, you make it into Saturday. It's like, hey, boys, couple matches, we get to roll, and we're on to Sunday, on to Championship Sunday. And like the reason I say that is because there's an advantage to be had here. You look at the schedule here, the winners bracket, round 2, they play Friday, and
Yep.
you look here in elimination round 2, they're playing Saturday. Elimination round 3, losers semis is also Saturday, and losers finals is also Saturday. So one of these teams that's playing in elimination round 2 could have a crazy run. Like you have potential to play 3 matches, and we know from other CODs, in history, like you can start to go crazy and make a big run. You get to play a lot of matches. Like some team, maybe not one of these two that's already down here, but some team that drops to elim round 2 could easily make a run very far because they're gonna have so much momentum and play so many matches in one day.
Yeah, definitely. Compared to playing like one match one day, one match again.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We can move on to your winners round 2 matchups, though. We got some gauntlets up here.
Man. I had it one way with Atlanta and Thieves, and I switched it. That's how tough. That's how tough this is. All right.
There's no way to be very sure about these predictions. I'll say that, especially if this ends up being your winners round 2. Good luck.
Yeah. All right. Atlanta, Faze, and Thieves. I picked the Atlanta Thieves to win this game. Game 5, ice up in a search.
What'd you say? You said you picked the Atlanta Thieves. Which one?
Oh, I meant the Los Angeles Thieves.
Okay.
To ice up in a game 5. Maybe not round 11, but maybe round 9, round 10.
Okay.
Ice up. Which, they have some troubles against Faze usually, here and there.
Yeah. I feel like it's going to be a common pick because, like you said, Thieves tend to, have some pretty good success against Atlanta on LAN over the past few years. They tend to have some, or at least put up a good fight, give them some struggles. So it's definitely a possibility. I feel like there's a lot of people that are going to be thinking people are going to pick Faze, so people are going to go Thieves. But you can't go wrong. If you just said Faze, I'd been like, okay. And I'm not shocked to pick Thieves because it's also a good pick.
Yeah. gauntlet, really.
Yeah, this is a tough winners bracket here if it ends up like this, because even with teams getting hot or cold at the end, we didn't really have any like of our top teams besides that Thieves Ultra matchup playing in round one. They all spread out pretty well, so you have potential for some crazy round two matchups.
Yeah.
Friday's going to be a fun day because you get two crazy winners round two matchups, and then you get to see two teams get eliminated. It's going to be a fun day on Friday.
Yeah. Jeez. All right. Winners round two. OpTic versus the Subliners. I picked OpTic 3-2 in our game 5, like 5 in a row. It seems like for me. Jesus.
Yeah. That's what happens when you don't know who to pick. You're just like, yeah, 3-2.
Yeah, 3-2. Close game.
Mhm.
In the end, OpTic ices up.
I like it. Can definitely see it happening. Another spot where brackets are going to be, make or break time, because it's hard to pick OpTic in some ways because of how poor they looked in Major 5, but I can also see you easily just being like, yeah, it's an anomaly. It was a tough weekend. They ended up coming out against a team like Florida that everybody was saying was looking super good in scrims, and then they had to play a top team in LA Thieves that just happened to be in losers round one. So I can see you chalking up to that, or I can see the argument of, subliners are defending champs, and OpTic is looking horrible right now. That's a valid argument as well.
Yeah, definitely.
You ready to drop down into that Elim round two? Whew, some tough matches down here too.
Man, yep. Subliners versus the Ultra. Here's where I picked Subliners 3-1. Ultra get the control.
Okay.
And that'll end Toronto's time at champs.
Wow, I mean, odds are like here either Ultra, Thieves, Subliners, or OpTic have to be eliminated in this match. So like somebody very good is going home top 6. I feel like that's a rare one though. You have a chance to have a great bracket here if Ultra end up getting bounced early, because I feel like there's a lot of people that are going to be picking them to make it further, because I don't think, besides maybe one tournament, I don't think they've barely missed top 4 at all this year.
Yeah.
Maybe one tournament they did, but I think they've been like top 4 or better at pretty much every tournament.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
But yeah, Ultra taking a control is a good bet. 3-1 subliners, you said. All right.
Now Faze versus the Rocker. Faze in losers bracket pretty early here.
Very early.
Here's where Faze just, does Faze things and 3-0s them, Rocker, and that's how they end their season.
Yeah. Yeah, I just mentioned how I could see one of these teams making a run. I didn't account for the fact that it's likely Faze or Thieves that drop down to here. And my statement is kind of false. I guess the only way I can maybe see it is if maybe Ultra ends up winning against Thieves round 1 and has to drop to this spot after losing to Faze. Maybe Rocker could beat Ultra in that like rivalry type match, but yikes. It's a tough draw for those two teams that have to fall on here. They have to play probably, Faze Thieves Ultra. It's a tough draw. But champs time for a reason. You don't get that free match against LAG or London anymore.
If they wanted their basically perfect, they want to win.
Yeah. Or just like pull off an upset in the first round and stay in winners as long as possible.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on to some more Saturday matches. Two teams that get the momentum rolling coming out of Elim round 2. Who gets a losers semi match to keep rolling onto losers finals?
Elimination round 3.
Yeah.
All right. Subliners versus the Faze. Here's where Faze gets Subliners back and knocks him out the tournament. Game 5.
So?
And Cellium doesn't not miss the guy.
Yeah. Doesn't go blind and miss Priesta this time.
Yep.
I like it. All right. Then we've got LA Thieves versus OpTic Texas in your winners final. Seen them a lot on land this year. We've seen a lot of LA Thieves W's. Think it continues, or is OpTic able to pull it off and get to the grand final through winners?
I'm thinking Thieves here, game 5. And it sends OpTic to lower bracket.
All right. I don't hate it. Once again, it's another toss up. I'm looking at that. I see, the grand final, best of 9. We'll talk about that when we get there, but I have some thoughts on the amount of games maybe the series should be and stuff. But you knock OpTic down to losers final, where we get a classic Call of Duty matchup. OpTic versus Faze in losers final.
Here's where, OpTic Faze. Classic, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
Faze starts shaking. They have to play OpTic.
They can't beat him right now. They can't beat him. Just
They
like
can't.
OpTic can't beat Thieves, Faze can't beat OpTic.
No matter how good they are, they just somehow they can't beat them. Therefore, I'm picking OpTic 3-1, and Faze can have that search and destroy.
And Simp and Abezy miss the grand finals for the first time ever together.
Mm-hmm.
First time since that would be World War II was the last time we didn't see that tandem in the finals if they miss here.
Yeah. Just think about that. And that will likely, probably cause a team change.
Yeah, that trio might still stick together, but yeah, they'll probably pick up a new main AR.
Yeah. That's what I was kind of getting at, but yeah.
Yeah.
Trios stay, but yeah.
All right, and that takes us to our grand final where you have a rematch of Major 4, which for you was your best bracket, where you did pick Thieves to beat OpTic, and it happened. Brings us to our grand final, which is a best of 9. Thieves get the veto advantage in this series as they are the team that came from winners for you. I'm glad we at least get a best of 9. I still wish it was 2 best of 5s, but best of 9 is better than best of 7. So a lot of people proposing that maybe we should have best of 7s for every series at champs. I would love it because, for me personally, more Call of Duty the better. Especially if I'm going to be there, I'd love to watch a game 7 every single time. However, with the very, very, very limited map pool in our recent Call of Duties and just with the sheer amount of time, like I think Saturday or something is like a 5-match day, or one of the days is a 5-match day. I just can't even imagine the just sheer amount of time. Yeah, the sheer amount of just time. Yeah, Saturday has to be a 5-match day because it's winners finals, both losers quarters, the losers semi, and losers final. So Saturday's a 5-match day. Just imagine if we had like 4 game 7s, they would literally take like 12 plus hours to be a crazy long stream. So I get why they don't do it, but for my selfishness, yeah, I'd love to just sit there 12 hours and watch a bunch of game 7s.
Same here, but obviously they can't really, do that, unfortunately.
Yeah, especially we say that, and we have a lot of EU listeners. You guys would be in hell having the stream start at 2 because I think that is pretty late over there, and then the stream would literally go all night for you guys. That would be awful for the EU viewers over there.
Yeah.
Let's get into it though. Thieves OpTic, probably a pretty common final pick, I would think. Although it doesn't include Faze, so maybe not.
It is, Faze isn't there for the first time somehow. If this bracket holds up.
Yeah.
Man, this was a tough one to pick. I was thinking OpTic are gonna go up 4-3 in the map count. And then, I don't know what's gonna happen, but Thieves gonna rattle 2 maps in a row and win it. For a 5-4 win for Thieves.
So you think OpTic are gonna go up 4-3, you said?
Yeah.
And then Thieves are going to take the last 2 maps and win it 5-4 on map 9, Search and Destroy. Back to back. Not only are they the first team to ever break the champs curse, but they're the first team to go back to back.
Potentially.
To my knowledge and my thinking, there's no team besides Black Ops 3 to IW Envy that's ever made back-to-back grand finals with the same roster, same org. I can't think of one off the top of my head, and obviously I could be missing one because I didn't put much research or really, really think into this, but the only team I can ever remember making back-to-back finals with the exact same roster besides, or with a chance to repeat, I guess. Well, I guess, no, Cold War to Vanguard Faze.
Yeah.
So those 2 teams. Envy, they won it in Black Ops 3, had a chance to repeat in Infinite Warfare and lost to OpTic, and then Faze won it in Cold War and had a chance to repeat with the exact same roster in Vanguard, but lost to Thieves. So Thieves would be the third team to get a crack at it with the exact same roster, exact same org. They'd be the third team to ever get a crack at it. And you're thinking they'll be the first team to ever get it done.
They broke one curse, kind of, this year.
Yeah, and they're never a bad pick because they always seem to perform much better than than you really perceive them to be at the time when they hit LAN.
Yeah. And this is where OpTic, is where they get pred.
Yeah. That's an interesting one. I don't mind it. I will say I may have a slightly different bracket than you, which for the sake of everything is probably a good thing because it'll make it much more entertaining. I'm gonna quick back out your bracket here. And that way I can make my picks, which thankfully we're going to be a little different. I won't say if we have the same winner or not because it's definitely a team I considered, but we're going to have a little bit different bracket at the very least.
Fair.
I will say to go through my teams that I kind of battled with too. It's like, the big five, you kind of battle with all of them. For me, for Faze, it was like, first of all, those guys never miss a grand final, so they're always a safe pick because they're usually never grand final, so they'll always have a pretty good chance to win unless something drastic happens with those guys. For Ultra, kind of the same thing. They always seem to ice up when it matters. They've looked pretty good as of late. Scrappy's an MVP candidate. You can see the pop-up potential on that team. See them winning. Thieves, I mean, do we need to say much about them? They're Thieves. They're defending champs. They always seem to show up when it matters. OpTic, it's the same thing. They looked so good across majors 3 when they made the losers run, into major 4 when they got another second place, into major 5 online where they looked incredible. They had such a consistent dominance at the top where, man, you think OpTic could win despite that collapse at major 5. And then New York, story's obvious there. A lot of teams that end up winning the, what is it called? The last event. They end up doing pretty well.
Major 5?
Yeah. They end up doing pretty well at champs, so it's definitely a possibility there that you could easily see them winning, but I don't know. I also saw a thing, I think it was from Tactical Rab, that what was it? The teams that make the major 5 or whatever the last event finals are, at least one of them makes the grand final at champs. Every single champs, I think it was all 10 champs that have occurred. This will be the 11th champs. Of the 10 tournaments that have happened before, one team from that finals makes it every time. So basically, if that stat holds true, New York or Faze should be in the final.
Yeah.
Basically, so do with that what you will. Every time it seems like a stat like that gets posted, it gets broken. So I guess we'll see. We'll see who ends up winning or making it from there. But those are kind of some of my thought processes. Then obviously, if I wanted to get absolutely crazy, I would pick Surge or Boston or Minnesota to win. And I guess we'll see if I ended up deciding to do that. But
definitely tough to pick the right one.
It's like Cold War was the last time I can remember there being a real clear team that you wanted to pick, because Faze was just so dominant that entire year.
Yeah.
Even MW, it was a very big toss-up because Faze had made every final again, and Empire looked really good. Huntsman even looked pretty good at the time. There was plenty of teams you could consider picking in the CDL era, at least. MW is kind of a little more of a toss-up. Cold War was the one where it was Faze have dominated. They should be the favorite, and they ended up winning. Vanguard, Thieves were definitely a possibility. Having won, that previous tournament, OpTic with Illy back, you thought maybe they could win. There were plenty of teams. Faze, like always, they had gotten every second place, so you think certainly a possibility that they could win. So, a lot of teams could potentially win, and this year is no different. No surefire team because nobody has really dominated this year, even with 2 event wins for subliners. It came in Major 1 and Major 5.
Yeah, and they also had a top 12, I think, at one of them.
Yeah, a top 12. Also had an 8th at one point, so a little bit tough for this to predict. For this to be predicted, but I'm gonna take my best guess at it. We're starting with Faze versus Surge. Yeah, you picked a map 5 here. I feel like it's this is one where if you're a big Surge fan, you want to pick your boys, you're gonna have a crazy good bracket if they end up pulling off the upset. And like we said, you mentioned it, Surge always play Faze very, very, very tough. But as of late, Surge have looked so rough compared to what we're used to from them. And Faze, I mentioned it already. I came away encouraged from what I saw at Major 5. And like you mentioned, if Cellium is just not getting a call to check that pool corner on the right in the arcade corner, and he's looking forward, not getting ready to chow, he kills Priestess and they win the map, they win the series. 4-2. Faze are Major 5 champions, and probably everybody's picking them. He doesn't see them. New York comes back. New York wins the tournament, and now people are just like not as confident in Faze. For me, I basically think, like, in my mind, Cellium just looks forward. He gets the kill. Faze are basically your Major 5 champions. They look incredibly improved in respawn. I think Faze are going to roll 3-0 here.
Okay. A little different. I like it.
I like them to just roll Surge. And I think, like, it might be a 3-0 that you're looking like, oh my God, like that was 30 minutes. I think it might be a fast 3-0.
All right.
Talking like a 250 to 110, and then like a 6-1 and a 3-1 or something, like a pretty quick one.
Okay. That means Mac's probably gonna have a rough time.
Yeah, probably. And then we move on to Ultra versus Thieves, where, this is the toughest match. Like you said, you picked Thieves 3-2. I was kind of leaning the same way, and I really like Thieves to potentially win this because, they're LA Thieves, but Ultra have had their number as of late. Nate Chat even mentioned it on his podcast where I was listening to that. I like Ultra to take out Thieves. Game 5, I think Hexy has a big game 5.
Okay.
I think Hexy drops like a 10-5, map 5 to propel Ultra forward into a matchup versus Faze that we've seen plenty of times this year, and overall we've seen that matchup plenty of times on LAN and big moments. I like Ultra to take out Thieves. That is by far, like I said, I could get that wrong, and Thieves could very easily make a run all the way to winners final, win it, and then win the tournament from winners. And I'm just so wrong because I picked them to lose in round 1. But that's what you're getting with that matchup there.
Yeah, literally a toss up.
Yeah. Then we go on to that bottom half of winners round 1, where we've got the matchup of the green teams, OpTic versus Boston. This one shouldn't be as hard to predict as I'm making it or like thinking it could be, mostly because it's like Boston have looked so bad, OpTic have looked so good, except Major 5, and OpTic have been like a top team all year. Boston have struggled all year on LAN, so it should be OpTic easy, but Snoopy scares me. I really think that like he's got a lot of talent, and it's just so weird when you play a team that you're not like expecting to play when it's a different roster, and it's hard to prepare for him. So I think the series is going to get mixy. I'm picking a 3-2. I'm still taking OpTic, but I'm taking a 3-2 because I think it could get really interesting and mixy. Now I could see this also being like the change doesn't work at all for Boston and they quick 3-0, but I'm going to say 3-2 just because I respect Snoopy's talent, and I think it could get weird with them not having much knowledge of him.
Definitely. Could play like different map pools, maps, and all that stuff too.
Yeah, on a map that they're expecting Boston to be horrible at, but it was Snoopy's best map, and all of a sudden they're pretty good.
Yeah.
A lot of different things could happen. Then we go on to the last match of winners round 1, where we've got Subliners versus the Minnesota Rocker. Y'all know I really want to be picking Rocker in that match. I like to root for them, but I just don't know. I just don't know if there's a world where I can pick Rocker over our defending champion New York Subliners. I think Minnesota is going to be good enough to get a map. I'm not really sure which one. I don't think it'll be map 1. I think it'll be a map 2 or a map 3. But I like Subliners to win it 3-1. Our defending champs to move on to winners round 2. Just so tough to pick an upset in that bottom half of the bracket, although it's likely to happen because it always seems to happen where you least expect it.
Yeah.
Especially at champs.
Yep.
And we move on to elimination round 1.
Ooh.
Where we've got Surge versus LA Thieves. A lot of people probably picking LA Thieves to win, like you. I've got them here in losers round 1 versus the struggling Surge. I had Surge getting 3-0. I was thinking about picking them to get 3-0 again. I think this is going to be somewhat reminisce back to Black Ops 4. I don't think it's going to happen in the same fashion, but I think it's going to end up being a really close series where Thieves barely squeak it out. 3-2, they're a little shook. Weren't expecting to lose right away. They dropped down to losers round 1, playing Surge. I think it goes like a game 5, around 10 or 11, like a deep series, and Thieves win it, and it's like, oh my God, we barely survived, but that's like the catalyst to like wake them up and like realize who they are, get going on the weekend, and they end up taking out the Surge 3-2. Maybe closer than I expect.
Yeah, it's really tough to tell really surged because of Pred and Sip.
And some guys on this team like Accuracy and Mac, it could be their last chance to really showcase what their talent is to earn their spot in the league next year.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Then down to elimination round 1, last match here. Breach versus Rocker. The matchup of two of our bottom teams that squeaked into champs, 6 and 7 seeds. Like I said, could be the catalyst or the thing that catapults one of these teams into making a potential run. However, I don't think it really happens for one of these teams, but you never know. I do like, man, it's like I want to pick Minnesota. This is like a tough matchup too. So I want to pick Minnesota for the veteran, Attach, Cammy, Bance. These are all veterans that have been there on the big stage at champs and succeeded. Cammy made a grand final. Attach has obviously won champs. Bance has made 2 grand finals. Like on the side of Boston, Awakening has never really done much at champs. Kremp and Snoopy have never played at a champs. Just overall, not a lot of experience on that roster. Beans has never played at a champs. Like only one guy has played at a champs and has never placed well.
Yeah.
So it's tough. I like the experience from Minnesota, like you said, to come through here. I think they win it 3-1. I think Minnesota takes triple respawns in this series.
Okay.
Then we go up back to the winners bracket. Faze Ultra. Ready for this one? Faze.
Yep.
Smoke them again. I think they actually somehow, maybe I'll say they dropped the control. I think Faze win it 3-1. I think the maps Faze wins, they handle them pretty well though. And Faze moves on to winners finals, where we're so used to seeing them at champs.
Yeah. Standard for them.
Yep. And then we get OpTic versus Subliners. This is a tough matchup because, like we said, one of those teams that made it to the finals of the last tournament always makes it to finals at champs. It's never not happened. And if Subliners win this, that would guarantee that trend to continue.
Mm-hmm.
However, I think OpTic is going to take it. I think it's going to be a 3-2. I feel like this has potential to be one of the banger series of the weekend. I really feel like winners round 2 has potential to be the best set of matches of the entire weekend because you're going to get an OpTic Subliners matchup most likely, and then a Faze versus either Thieves or Ultra that really has potential to be a couple crazy good matches.
Good matches, yeah.
And I like OpTic to come out on top, but like I said, major toss up because it's hard to predict between those two teams right now. If OpTic comes out in their form for Major 5, they're going to get 3-0'd. But if they come out in their normal form that we saw, stages 3, Major 3, stage 4, stage 5, online, OpTic could hang with the best of them, potentially win the event.
Yeah.
Into elimination round 2, where we got Subliners, Thieves.
Ooh.
So our defending champion Subliners could get knocked out top 6, or our defending CDL champion LA Thieves could get knocked out top 6. The defending world champs, the defending major champs. I hate to say it, I think Subliners get bounced here. As tough as that is, if it was Ultra down here, maybe I pick Ultra to lose to them like you had in your bracket, but because the bracket flip with Subliner or with Ultra winning in winners round 1, Subliners get the tough draw of playing Thieves. I think Thieves beat them in a 3-1 fashion. Honestly, I don't go 3-2 because I think New York would ice up in a 3-2. But I like New York to drop out here somehow. Our defending champs drop out a little early, and the LA Thieves take them out.
Yeah, definitely. Some about I don't know what it is about these, but I just never want to pick against them.
It's hard because they're just they're never really going to get blown out in a series, or if they do, it's very rare.
Yeah,
they're always going to be in it.
So it's literally one time they get blown up.
Yeah, that leads us to the Battle of the North, last match of losers round 2. It's Ultra, it's Rocker, it's Ultra coming out on top, 3-0. I think they really smoke Minnesota here, and you got to pick a couple 3-0s here and there. I think they take out Minnesota somewhat easily. Unfortunate because I'd like to see Minnesota make a little run. Then takes us into our two teams building momentum. Thieves versus Ultra. Winner goes on to play their 3rd match of the day. I think Thieves get their revenge in a 3-2 fashion. They win the game 5 this time, and they move on to losers final.
So far, so good.
Which takes us up same top three as you. Takes us up to Faze versus OpTic. Faze cannot beat OpTic. It is not possible for them.
You're right.
They can't beat them. They haven't beat them in a long time. They dominated them in Cold War, and then things kind of flipped in Vanguard, and since then, OpTic has dominated Faze. Faze hasn't been able to win the matchup. However, Faze has a lot of success at champs in the CDL era. OpTic does not. What would be their best placement? A top 3 in MW as Huntsman, if you're counting that. When they were Huntsman, they had a top 3 where they beat London in losers semis, and then ended up losing to Faze, I believe. Yeah, Empire had the winners bracket advantage, so they lost to Faze in the losers final of that one. Then go into Cold War where they finished like top 6 or something. Then you go into Vanguard where OpTic finished top 4. They lost to Surge.
I want to say 4.
I think they lost in loser semis to Surge there, and then you come into this year. So OpTic, has not made a grand finals in the CDL era. I don't think they get the satisfaction of making it from winners here. I think Faze finally get it done. I think it comes through a game 5, but I think Faze finally get it done, and they take out OpTic to move on to another grand final. And then the script flips on OpTic. They go from playing the team that can't beat them in Faze to losing, and all of a sudden they find themselves in losers final playing against the team that they can't beat in LA Thieves, who's coming from losers round 1 in classic Thieves fashion.
Does OpTic pull it out?
It's a tough prediction. I will say I've been to one champs. I've seen this story before. I've seen OpTic 100-point club United in map 1 on Sunday in winners final, and you think everything's going to go well, and then they blew a 5-2 lead on payload search, and they didn't win a map the rest of the day. Finished the day losing 6 straight maps and got eliminated top 3. And oh, by the way, they lost to Simp and Abezy in the winners final, and then 100 Thieves in the losers final. So shades of the exact same thing that I once witnessed at champs coming out again. OpTic losing to Simp and Abezy in winners final, and then potentially having to face off against the 100 Thieves organization, which on that last Thieves team, Kenny and Octane were also present. So a lot of similarities that this Sunday ends up playing out. I guess it's technically Saturday, but you know what I mean. The winners final, losers final ends up playing out. A lot of similarities, and I think we see the same story. I think Thieves are going to beat OpTic 3-1.
I like it.
And then that leads us to a rematch of last year's finals from Vanguard. Faze versus Thieves, where Thieves kind of dominated that final last year.
Yeah, they're up 4-0, weren't they? Then they started trolling.
I think they were 4-0 and they lost 2 straight, right? And there was that Tuscan control where they almost trolled. Yeah, you're not wrong. They and then Envoy had a big clutch.
Didn't they lose 3 straight? They might lost 3 straight. No, I don't know.
Because Thieves won it on a search and destroy, which couldn't have been map 8 because map 9 was a search. It wasn't back-to-back searches at the end.
Okay.
Because it was the 5 maps like normal, and then map 6 was another HP. No, map 6 had to be another control. Because then it went search, hardpoint, search at the end.
Mm-hmm.
So map 8 would have been a hard point. They would have went over to a hard point for that one. So I think Thieves closed it out on a map 7 search. Tuscan. I know they closed it on a Tuscan search, and it wasn't map 9, so it had to be map 7.
Sounds right.
So they had to have been up 4-2 and had a chance to drop down to 4-3 or something.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember hearing like Thieves would have been nervous because I think like map 8 was like maybe Faze's best hardpoint or something.
Yeah, I can believe so. Yeah.
Anyways, my prediction here is that the script flips. It's a 5-3 this time to the side of Faze. I think Faze end up winning it all. The reason that I say this is because something flipped in my mind when I said it a million times, but when Simp had the 42 and 18 hotel HP, I saw Simp hit a different form, and I was like, my eyes on this team for Major 5. I watched Faze. They should have won Major 5. Obviously, credit to subliners. They ended up being clutch and winning it, but Cellium looks forward. They win that event. And what I saw from Faze was a dominance in respawn that we haven't seen out of Faze this entire year. And what I saw is them choke 3 search and destroys in grand finals. 3 of the 4 maps they lost were S&Ds. I trust Simp, Abezy, Cellium, and Slasher. Simp and Abezy, specifically 2 of the greatest search and destroy players of all time. Don't sleep on Slasher. Also one of the greatest search and destroy players of all time. He created an entire system of how to play.
Mm-hmm.
And Cellium, what is search and destroy about? Playing your life. Well, that guy can play his life.
He does it probably the best.
Yeah. So I like that team. If I'm betting on a team to be good in search, I like that team to, pick it up and figure it out in search. Whereas, Thieves, I trust them, but if FaZe keeps their respawn on point to where it was at Major 5 and they get back to their normal game at search, we could be looking at a dominant champs run.
Mm-hmm.
Because they were dominant at one point in search and they were dominant in respawn at the last event. Combine those and they might have a crazy run here. And that's why I'm picking them to win it all.
I like it. A little rematch, but FaZe pulls it out.
Yeah. I guess not too much else to talk about. Maybe do you want to go with who you're picking for MVP? Obviously, for you, it would have to be an LA Thieves player. For me, a FaZe player. But who you got for MVP? You giving it much thought? Is it going to be Kenny back to back for you?
I do think Kenny will play a big role if my bracket somehow is correct.
Yeah, it's it's so hard to say somebody won't play a big role because if you're winning champs, it's nobody can be absolutely getting had.
The person I think that will win MVP if the Thieves somehow pull it out for the back-to-back is Draza.
Okay.
With his
I like it.
search and destroy, his, playing better respawn, pulls it out. Word to happen.
Okay.
What about for you?
I think it's possible. I definitely think Draza is a candidate, but like you said, with these 2 teams especially, it's 4 guys that have superstar potential on the right weekend. So it's not like if Toronto wins, it's probably scrappy. If subliners win, it's probably Hydra. And to me, that is what made my top 3 when you sit back and think about it, and you had the same top 3. So it's probably what made yours. You sit back and you think about it, it's like if Ultra win, I feel like MVP has to be Scrappy. If Subliners win, it probably has to be Hydra. Where if Faze win, it's probably not Slasher, but is it Cellium? If it's Abezy, if it's Simp, I'm not shocked by any of those. On the side of OpTic, it's probably not Ghosty because he doesn't put up the biggest numbers, but am I shocked if it's Dashy? If it's Hook? If it's Shotzzy? No. I'm not shocked by any of those. And that's where our top 3 teams, compared to those other 2, it's those 3 have a spread of superstars that I feel like any of them could be MVP, which may be what separates them. Thieves, you could see Draza, Kenny, Envoy, Octane. Literally, I could see all 4 on Thieves winning MVP.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be shocked to see any of them. Whereas maybe 1 on FaZe and OpTic, I'd be shocked. Whereas basically, if it wasn't Scrappy or Hydra, I'd be shocked on those other teams. And that's maybe why they make the top 3s, because they're just a well-balanced team in terms of players that could really carry you through a game.
I agree.
I think FaZe is the hardest team to pick an MVP from because they have 3 literal. If New York doesn't win the last event, they probably go back to back to back of MVPs of the regular season with 3 different players.
That's just insane.
Yeah, because Abezy was pretty much the locked in MVP as long as Hydra didn't win that event. I'm gonna say Simp wins it. I think it depends. He's gonna have to have some pretty good numbers because we all know Cellium's probably gonna have the number 1 overall KD in the event if FaZe wins it.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think. Simp's never won the champs MVP in the CDL era. Obviously, he won it in Black Ops 4, but in the CDL era, the only time FaZe won it, Abezy won champs MVP. I'm pretty sure. Simp won it for the regular season of Cold War, but I think Abezy won the champs MVP that year.
Yeah. Yep.
So Abezy already has one. I think Cellium will have the best overall KD, but I could see Simp dropping a 1.1 and having crazy impactful stats. So I'm going to say Simp wins it.
Okay. I like it.
Of the 3 teams that nobody's picking to move on, who's your dark horse between those 3 teams?
Dark horse on a good day, the Sail Surge.
See, for me, I think it's Boston, and that's going to sound really stupid from both of us because you picked Surge to take last, and I picked Boston to take last. But I will say, like, Minnesota, yeah, could they make a run? Maybe. Seattle, could they make a run? But like, the unknown factor of Boston makes me think maybe they're the team to make a run. I also think they have maybe the most realistic path because I can see a world where New York lays up kind of a stinker. Or excuse me, OpTic lays up a little bit of a stinker when Boston plays them because OpTic tends to do that sometime in winners round one and they're coming off a struggle. You hear a lot of players are sick. Like a lot of things seem to be going against OpTic. So you can see a world where they make that run. And then even if they just drop to losers right away, they do get to play Minnesota. So that could catapult something. And even a top four for all those teams would be a pretty good finish.
Yeah.
Other than that, though, I don't really have anything else. This is basically all I wanted to cover. And this one was the bracket predictions.
Yeah, I'm just excited. I really wish Vegas could be there, but they unfortunately didn't make it.
No, they did not make it, but I'm still excited to go.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be a really fun time. My first time in Vegas. I'm excited to check that out.
Same.
All right, we can wrap it up though if you got nothing else.
No, I think we should get out of here. Wrap it up.
All right. Thank you guys so much for watching. Obviously, this has been the bracket predictions for champs. Drop your predictions down below. I feel like we're going to see a lot of Thieves, a lot of Faze, a lot of OpTic. Some of you out there picking subliners, definitely a real possibility. Maybe Ultra, maybe some of you crazy people out there are picking some of our other teams, our Minnesota, our Boston, our Surge. But I want to see who you're picking to win champs and who's your MVP down in the comments. I want to see those two things. Somebody's got to be right between me, Brock, and one of you guys in the comments. Somebody's got to be right. Unless maybe Surge somehow win it. Maybe none of us will pick that. Brock's brother is a Surge fan though, so maybe he'll be the one that predicts that. But
yeah, he'll be the one probably.
Yeah. That's gonna do it for this one though. We appreciate you guys watching. Be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you're new. We know this is usually one of the most listened to podcasts of the year because everybody's excited for champs. So if you're new and you enjoyed this one, we do a weekly podcast. We'd appreciate if you drop that sub. We just hit 1,000 and looking to climb some more. We appreciate all the support. If you're on the audio platforms, drop that follow, drop that 5-star review. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys have a great time watching champs, and we'll see you in the next one, which, by the way, before I forget, will be a little bit late because Brock and I don't fly back in until Wednesday night. So the podcast reaction to champs will probably not be up until Thursday, and I'll probably record it Thursday evening. So it'll be a little bit of a delay in terms of, we fly in Tuesday night.
Yeah, so
the podcast will be probably up like Wednesday. I'll probably record it Wednesday night.
Yeah.
The next one. So there'll be a little bit of a delay on the reaction podcast. Unfortunately, we won't be able to get it out right away on Monday, but I unfortunately am not going to be bringing my PC with me to record the podcast episode right after on site there in the venue. But yeah, we'll get that out to you. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you in the next one after champs.